All right. So this is the Wednesday, May 14th meeting of the Lunenburg Open Space Committee. We're doing this via Zoom. Zoom number is 86775465879. And this is also being broadcast on Facebook Live and will be on the YouTube channel for the town of Lunenburg um, after we finish. And so we're doing this remotely still. The governor went ahead and signed into law an extension of the Remote Meeting Acts. So we are good for at least another year, I think, which is great. We got together last month over at the Ritter Building. It was Glenn and Chris St. Germain and I. So we didn't have a quorum, but we got to sit there and see each other face to face instead of just faces on a screen, which was nice. We're going to try to do that again. I know, Eric, it was tough for you um, to get there. We did it at 7 o'clock, and if we pushed it to 7:30, would that help at all?
That would definitely be easier for me for in person.
Okay. And Anna, I know, has trouble making an early meeting, so we might try June. We'll talk about this a little later. We might try June again in person. It was very nice to be able to sit down with these two gentlemen and get to know each other a little bit and go through a few things informally. Chris is our new member from the Conservation Commission because Mary has stepped aside. And I think I'm not sure if she's still on the commission, but I know she's not chairing the Conservation Commission anymore. And she may be stepping off the Conservation Commission. Work just got a little too crazy for her. So she's taken a bit of a time out. Um, Brandon, you had threatened that. And I don't know whether that threat is still active. Now I can't hear you because you're muted. You're muted.
Tough to unmute on the phone sometimes.
Yeah. There's got to be a little button there somewhere. There we go. Oh,
Oh,
he's
this
going to
is
try it again.
terrible. Is that better?
Well, yeah, now I can hear you, but I can't see you. Now I can see you. Okay.
Okay. Well, this is entirely not intuitive.
That's all
Um,
right.
I've given it a lot of thought, and I do think, unfortunately, obviously, I've been MIA, and that's not this committee deserves more than that, and certainly I've given a lot to this committee over the years, and I do not. It hurts me to be as absent as I've been, so it doesn't feel like it's a fair. It gives the committee a fair shake. So unfortunately, I am going to resign my spot on the committee, and my intention is to send a. I wanted to tell you guys that in person.
Okay.
I'm going to send a letter to the planning board since they're technically our oversight board tomorrow that indicates the same.
So if you'll do me a favor, copy me and
Yes,
copy Logan
okay,
also, because
absolutely.
he's the
Yeah,
one that kind of helps keep track of us all.
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
But what I do want to say is that, especially I know there's an open space plan, kind of rewrite in the not too distant future. I played a very active role in the last two or three of them, including doing all the mapping and all that other stuff. So when the time comes, I'm happy to serve as a resource to the committee.
Thank you.
And maybe at that time, maybe it makes sense for me to join again or do something at that time. And always, as always, if you have any questions or anything comes up and you want to, bounce something off me, feel free to do that. But
Okay.
I'm happy to serve as a resource. I feel like I'm taking a seat that somebody else could be sitting in and actually contributing to the
So
operation.
are you doing that effective after this meeting tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I also, just so you know, I also heard from Tim Lawless, who's the representative from the Parks Commission.
Hmm.
Took over Anna's spot when Anna stepped off the Parks Commission. Tim is also going to step aside.
Okay.
So we're going to have several openings. We have Chris is a new member. Glenn, you're relatively new. So Eric, you and I are going to be the old hands, which doesn't say a lot, but
No, it does not.
because I'm not sure what Anna's plans are either. I'm trying to reach out to her as well. So it's okay. Like, boards change, membership,
Mhm.
life goes on,
Right.
and we will certainly reach out for your help. I'll talk about this a little more under agenda item number 5 for tonight, the open space plan. But really want to thank you for all the hard work you did. I know you and Paula, especially Bob, did an awful lot of work.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I mean, I moved into town in 2004. I want to say I started on the committee in '06 or '08 or something like that.
Mhm.
And have been serving ever since. So it's certainly a passion of mine, and like I said, I wish I could give it more than I've been able to in the last couple of years, frankly. And um, it is what it is. Life gets in the way sometimes,
Okay.
and that's what we'll do.
Good.
But I appreciate your leadership, Mike, and thank you for taking the reins when you did, and I'm happy to serve as a resource, like I said.
Thank you. So, you're the clerk. Will you
Yep,
take the minutes tonight?
I sure will, and in fact, I am.
Thank you. Okay, great. Because Eric and Glenn have stepped in and done that for me at several meetings, so I appreciate it all
Yep.
from all of you. Okay, so Glenn and I got to meet Chris at the last meeting. He actually lives up the street from me, and Glenn lives down the street from me, and we can't see each other yet, Glenn, because they still haven't fixed that bridge. Although they put up a new sign saying the bridge is out, so no kidding.
Yeah, I see
Um,
they put out a bid for a new contractor, so hopefully there'll be some developments there.
Oh gosh, I hope so. It's just even just getting into town, it's roundabout. Going east isn't too bad because I can just go down through Shirley, but going west, it's added a little bit, of a workaround to get over around town. I don't know whether you guys know that, but that bridge on Flat Hill Road is out. The one that's down by the 90-degree curve, down by my house, down by Stone Fence. So we're at the very end of the northern reach of Flat Hill, and you're down at the southern end, right? And so we neither of us can get in each other's direction. Um, so the first real piece of business is the approval of the minutes from the February meeting, which Glenn took for us. I distributed those. Glenn, I had one typo that I fixed. That's it. Everything else, to my mind, was accurate. So unless someone else has something else to add to those minutes, I'd entertain a motion to approve the February minutes.
So moved as amended.
Thank you. Second, anybody? Glenn, you can
I'll
second. Okay. Awesome. Okay, great. So moved and seconded. Since we are on Zoom, I'll do the typical roll call thing. So Eric, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Glenn,
Aye.
Brandon,
Aye.
and I also vote aye. The chair votes aye. So those are approved. I will forward those to the town clerk's office. Thank you very much. Reports from other boards. So right now, I think, Glenn, you're the only one representing a board at tonight's meeting. I don't know whether you have anything from the planning board that you need to bring to our attention.
Not specifically. The chair did bring up open space again, in that we in the future can meet up and have like either a dual meeting, or he'd be happy to attend a meeting too. And I think it was probably based on the concerns about the properties coming out of chapter,
Yes.
but nothing specific.
Okay, great. Yeah, and we're all for that. Are you meeting in person or still remotely with the planning board?
In person.
Okay, so
Yeah.
maybe let me know when your June meeting is. If it's okay with the chair, and you can run this by the chair, we could come to your June meeting and have that be our June open space meeting, as long as it works out for quorum. And even if it doesn't, we'll have a few people there.
So,
Okay? So any ideas when that might be in June?
June 9.
June 9th, okay. I think that's fairly close to what we were going to have for our meeting. I'll check my calendar. Yeah, I had the 11th for our meeting, so the 9th is that Monday. So maybe we'll just move our meeting to that Monday if we can get enough folks to come. I can come, and we'll see who else can come. Where do you guys meet? Do you meet in the Ritter Building?
Town Hall, Belia.
Town Hall?
Yep.
Okay.
And it's also on Zoom.
Oh, so it's hybrid.
Hybrid, yeah.
Okay, so maybe that'll help some of the open space committee members as well. Great. Okay, get back to the agenda. Open space plan update discussion. Brandon, this is where we will ask for your help, but it appears we're going to be able to ask for your help 3 more years down the road. The open space plan was originally due to be updated in 2026. I think that's the end of our 7-year period. The state has now changed that to be a 10-year period, and they're offering anyone that has a current 7-year open space plan to update the table of action items, which I found in the pages 71, 76 or something like that of our open space plan, to update that to be a 10-year table instead of a 7-year table, action items. And given that, once we send that into the state, technically they'll approve that, and our open space plan will get 3 more years before it has to be updated. So 2029 instead of 2026. So I'll start that. I'll take that on. We'll talk about that in subsequent meetings, because folks may have ideas on what to change. But if you get a chance, take a look at the open space plan in general, but take a look at that table specifically. It's called out in the table of contents, and it's in the 70s, 71, 75, somewhere in there. Take a look at what the action items are. I've looked at it. I think it'll be fairly easy to do an update to that. Move dates around, move things. A lot of it was TBD based on funding, which is still going to be the case. So unless members here object, I would move that we go ahead and apply for the extra 3 years on the open space plan from the state.
Mike, do you remember in the update from the state, or the letter from the state, did they say that we had to do a new survey or get further public input in order to define sort of that renewed table?
I'll go back and look, but the only thing I recall is they wanted the table updated, but I'll take a look. You forwarded that to me. I did download their new
Handbook.
document,
Yeah,
the workbook.
yeah.
So let's see if I can find what they said, Brandon. Let's see. Melissa said, if you would like the plan to receive an additional 3 years of eligibility, you may extend your action plan by 3 years and send it to me for review and approval. That was in Melissa's letter.
Well, that's easy.
Once approved, then she said, once approved, your community will receive a new open space recreation plan
Yeah.
approval letter with an updated expiration date. And this whole thing is due at the end of September. So there's time yet to work on that table. So the other members, I'd like you to take a look at that table.
And I mean, certainly it would be easy enough for the open space committee to just sort of take a whack at it and offer up some suggestions. Would it make sense I'm stepping off the committee, so I don't want to create work for anybody. But would it make sense to at least circulate to the main land use boards that we're undertaking this, and here's the old action item. Are there any additional action items that you think should be added for the next 3 years in terms of objectives, just to get a little bit more input? I mean, obviously, this committee has representation from the other land use boards, but to actually have the boards weigh in on that.
Yeah, I agree. And I was definitely going to send it to planning because we're an ad hoc committee of planning.
Yep.
And so they should definitely see it. But I think Parks should see it. Maybe even the Agricultural Commission should see it, right?
And conservation.
And conservation, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Yeah, and what I was intending to do is to take the PDF and see if I can't reconvert it, unless you can send me the Word document, and do a strikeout.
Yep.
You know, and substitute bold or something so they can see what the changes, what the original language was and what the changes are.
I'm pretty sure I've got a soft copy of it somewhere kicking around, and I will find that and forward it to you.
Yeah, if not, I can do it in Adobe because
Yeah.
I've got the PDF. So
Yeah. Might be nice to have the whole plan as a soft copy anyway. So if I can locate it, I'll give it to you.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. I think we should circulate it to those boards for their information, if not review and approval, before we send it on to the state. Probably should send it to the select board as well, right? Town manager and select board.
I would think that would be good etiquette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So that's that, unless other people have questions about the open space plan, because we luckily do not have to go through the complete update right away, which was going to be quite a task. Nothing like pushing things off to the future when Brandon's available again. He's not muted.
And it's important to remind people when you are having those conversations that the plan, the most important thing with the plan by far is the fact that it makes you eligible for grant funding, state grant funding.
Yep.
That is unlike any other funding you have access to as a municipality for open space needs. So it's it takes little effort, and to get this extension gives you 3 more years of access to that grant funding. Whether you know you need it now or you don't know, it's good to have access to it, and it's a very light lift.
Yeah.
So to me, it's important to underscore that to people when you're saying, geez, it would be really nice to have your input here, so that they understand the value to the community. It's not, otherwise they're going to say, well, open space, blah, blah, maybe it's not the most important thing right now. And then, you said, wait a minute, it might not be the most important thing right now, but 2 years from now, there might be something coming down the pike that this offers, and, grant funding that we can't have access to without it. So.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that we've talked about in several of the past meetings, Brandon, is doing an update now on the 6 criteria, because I think we need some more clarity on those criteria. This discussion keeps coming up as we go through the right of first refusal questions, and some of the criteria I think need to be tightened up a little bit so that it makes it easier for the board to say whether or not a particular right of first refusal meets enough of the criteria to warrant us recommending it to planning, to the select board.
Yeah.
So we've started that discussion.
Good. And I will just, I will urge you as I'm walking out the door to make sure that the criteria remain sufficiently difficult to meet, that it's not an automatic yes every time something comes across the desk. Because I strongly believe it's as important to say no as it is to say yes.
Yes.
Because you know, it is very easy to get fatigue, taxpayer fatigue with this stuff. And if you push too much of it, too much acquisition, too much this, that, or the other thing, then people start saying the old "we have enough open space" thing. And so it needs to be selective. You need to be getting the right projects for the town that make the most sense, that are consistent with the plan. And if you make the criteria too low of a bar, now you lose credibility, I think. So
I think the only one that I would advocate softening up a little bit is the acreage criteria.
sure.
Because the reality is how many 50 or more acre parcels, come out of chapter, that the town stands a chance of exercising a right of first refusal on.
Yep.
Because once a 60-acre parcel comes out and goes into development, the town can't afford to exercise the right of first refusal
Right.
on something that large.
But also remember that the economy of scale that's associated with size of property, right? So
Yeah.
there is
Yeah.
some of that goes along with it too. So, you might pay just a fraction more for twice as much acreage, if it's for conservation. Then, so it's just important to keep all that in mind. I think it's smart. It's been those criteria have been in place for a very long time. They've served the town well with the Lane acquisition and the Saliba
Mhm.
acquisitions in particular. Because we could say things like we're only acquiring the most important parts of these properties for conservation or open space purposes, and had very clear, could clearly point to the criteria and say this is a home. And so, and I think that was a large reason why those projects were successes. So
Yeah, and in a couple of the recent cases that we've had in front of us for right of first refusal, we were meeting maybe 3 of the 6, and
yeah,
it like the last one definitely didn't meet size, but it met agricultural importance. It didn't meet adjacency, and so we made a decision. It really didn't meet enough of the bigger criteria to
right.
warrant us making a recommendation.
Yep.
So,
Good. No, I think it's good to have a refresh on that and get some new eyes on it and some new voices input into it. So I think that's smart.
okay. All right. I think that's it for the open space plan stuff. The next is citizen comments. We don't have anybody on. Sometimes we have Dave Passios on, but we don't this evening. So I think unless one of the other members wants to chime in on something here, because several of us are community members. I haven't heard anything specifically coming from the community about open space recently. And then the 7th item is the meeting schedule. We just talked about maybe moving our June meeting to that Monday instead of Wednesday. July, I think we should go back to our meeting date, which is the second week of July, second Wednesday of July. I don't have the date right in front of me, but I can put that in the calendar. And does any of the members have anything else that they'd like to bring up at this time? No, Glenn, you're good. Eric, you good?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm all set.
Brandon, we're all set, and we really appreciate your time and effort, and we're going to sorely miss you.
Well, keep in touch, as they say.
Yeah.
And I'm happy. Like, if you have something you want me to come on just as a member of the public to chime in on something, reach out, and I'm happy to do that. So
Okay. Obviously I've got your town email. You do me a favor, you've done.
I will include that in the letter. I'll include
Yeah,
my
send
personal
that, and
email.
send me your cell number. I know
Yep.
you've done that in the past, but just so I
Yep.
have, actually, Eric and Glenn, if you guys can do that, I'll send you mine. I'll send you a reminder with my cell phone in, just in case we need to, text each other at the last minute and say, hey, are you going to make the meeting or whatever?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
I think we're good for this evening. That was pretty quick. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. So Eric,
Aye.
Glenn,
I
Brandon,
Aye.
and the chair also votes aye. And I thank you all very much for joining us this evening.
pleasure.
And we'll see you in July,
In June.
June.
in June, excuse me.
Yeah.
Well, we won't see you in either
No.
month.
Nope.
All
Thank
right.
you all very much. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, folks.
Bye-bye.